Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my monologues. Well, yesterday's video caused a little bit of a stir there. I had an interesting flurry of emails when I was asking the question, why is it that Reform are not talking about the you-know-what that everybody had to be jabbed with 4 years ago, and of course the virus that was flying around. And a number of you got in touch, and I thought we'd read out a couple of those just to see what the response was. It's always good to hear your views, and of course the comments had a lot of questions in them as well, so thank you very much. And don't forget, you can join us in the forum, which the link is just there. And the link is also in the description should you wish to do that. And before I proceed, I'd just like to say a big thank you to those wonderful people who have donated to the channel. It really does help, and it keeps the channel going, especially in these very uncertain days about what's going on in the banking world and what we're supposed to do. And you will find a link in the description there if you want to donate, but not through the banks. Well, that comes out your bank, of course, and it buys a little tiny morsel of silver or gold, what have you, and then goes into helping the channel keep going and all of that. Anyway, so yesterday, talking about why are people not speaking out anymore about the vaccine and the harms that have happened. And of course, we do remember Andrew Bridgen, as I mentioned yesterday, standing up in Parliament and going around. But of course, now that he is no longer, let's say, in the public eye, and yet he is still very much out there, we're meeting him very soon again at the Great Resist, which you may wish to come along, which is in Thetford, I believe, on the 22nd of February. You'll see I did an interview with Liz Phillips about that recently. So he is still out there and he is speaking, and some people are, but is it in the public consciousness? And would they, should something else come hurtling along, take another medical intervention into their arm and suffer yet again? Who knows? Well, let's have a look at one of the emails that came in. And this is from Linda, who says, Richard, thank you for yet another excellent video this morning. It was such a relief to hear you saying, why isn't Farage asking questions about the genocide and the maiming due to the medical intervention? I sent you another email. It states that test and trace cost 37 billion. Do you remember that? The old, whenever you had to go into a pub and you had to have a thing on your phone and you had to tap it on something, and it was all a bit weird, because I remember going into a pub with somebody who was not terribly awake, I have to admit, but he didn't actually use the QR code. He just took a picture of the QR code, and nobody asked him whether that was really done. And I think a lot of that was happening. People were just pretending to tap and not be traced, because after all, who wants to be traced? We're being traced anyway by our phones, by taking them out wherever we go and allowing the data to be snuck away without us knowing it, although we kind of do know it. Anyway, this is shocking, she says. Why is this not a matter, this matter not discussed in Parliament? Well, because, of course, Parliament is a place of lies. That's why they don't tell you the truth. They'll keep everything under cover and to pretend, and most people there are so asleep they don't even see the Punch and Judy nonsense is theatre. It's all theatre. This is why we need a whole new system. Anyway, she carries on and says, no wonder there is not any money, and just think what the council spend on this nonsense and on the so-called virus whose existence has never been proved. Exactly. This is why they're also going pretty much bankrupt and now having to up the ante when the demands arrive to potentially up to 25% more than it was last year for those that acquiesced and paid it. So now we're expected to pay the nonsense with increased council tax bills. There you go. No wonder all the councils are bankrupt now. I must have sort of pre-read this and knew what you were going to say. She also says, no wonder Comrade Starmer says there is not any money to compensate the WASPI. I can't remember what the WASPI stands for. I should have looked that up. The WASPI women, I think these are the women who spoke out. Most women on average lost out on about £45,000 each from Linda. Excuse my ignorance there. I thought I knew what that was. But anyway, let's go and have a look at the website that she's linked to, which is the government's own website, which is fascinating. And here we are. This is on UK Parliament. I'll leave the link in the description. And it says, look at this, unimaginable. Cost of test and trace failed to deliver central promise of averting another lockdown. Look at that. Well, here you go. And it goes on. In May last year, NHS Test and Trace was set up with a budget of 22 billion. And that seems a staggering amount to begin with. Since then, it has been allocated 15 billion more, totaling 37 billion over 2 years. Yeah. And what good has it done us? Nothing. And did they really think that it would do anything? Of course not. The Department of Health and Social Care justified the scale of investment in part on the basis that an effective test and trace system would help avoid a second national lockdown. But since its creation, we've had 2 more lockdowns. I mean, this is probably quite old, this website, but this is what it is. Have they addressed it? How are they proposing that this money is paid back? And who are they paying it back to? I mean, that's the thing. This is if the government doesn't have any money of its own. It's all our money that we acquiesce and we pay in our inland revenue and our tax bills and our VAT and everything else. They don't have any money. These people making these decisions up there going, oh, yes, let's have track and trace. It'd be awfully good, wouldn't it? Yes, we can trace everyone where they're going. The fact that they're already tracking and traces is immaterial. And with the 5G technology going in, they'll be able to do it even more, pinpointing us and even sending lasers out to sort of sort out, turbo cancers and all those sort of things at a whim, and all that sort of weaponry technology that they're sort of setting up everywhere. But anyway, despite that, they thought awfully good idea to have a bit of track and trace. It's not like they've gone and go, yes, I'll put some money into the pot here. Here's a few shekels. Have some of it. No, I'll write a cheque for £5.50. There, I'll put that into the track and trace. It'd be awfully good. There's 650 of us. Surely we should be able to raise at least £100 by the end of the week. Don't you think? Go round with a hat and maybe have a raffle, or we'll have some tea cakes and sell them at £5. Maybe we should go and get some of these old antiques out of here and have a car boot sale. That'd be rather nice. You can't do that. Take the antiques. That's pretty much all the MPs. Anyway, that's the way. It's not their money, is it? That's not their money. It's our money, and we're a bit foolish, really, if we kind of look at these disasters and then continue to say, oh, well, I'll just keep paying the taxes. I'll just keep paying because they've made so many disasters. They've cost so much money and all of this. And don't worry, I'll just keep paying because they tell us, you must pay or we will send the boys in. It's the mafiosi, isn't it? It's the mafia approach. If you don't pay us your taxes, we'll send the boys in. What kind of world is that we live in which we vote? Well, not all of us vote, of course, but the majority, will vote for the mafia, who will say, we've got our legislation and we're coming to get you if you don't keep hold of it and go and do all that. That wasn't English, but don't worry about it. My second email then is over here. Let's just quickly have a look at that before we head off into the light blue yonder. And this is, if I can find the right one, this is from Red Pill Down Under. And he says, look over here at them immigrants. He says, no mention about chemtrails, farmers, vaccines and health services. He's talking about, again, why is this not being discussed in Parliament? Could be part of a plan to deliver UK to the US as the 52nd state. Interesting thought. UK people won't mind, he says. They'll see Trump as fixing the USA and say, yeah, we want that too. This is a pantomime. The script was written at least 80 years ago. And he's right. This has been part of a huge, long deception that has been taking place. Gradually, catchy monkey type thing. The immigrations was an act to create the problem. Sorry, the immigrants. We're all being played, entertained, he says. Lucky UK. Farage has been delivered to save the UK. But then, what do I know? Well, I think he's got a point there, and there's a lot of people who are thinking that Farage is the master, and again, is the saviour, rather. And we saw that over there with Trump. Is Trump the saviour? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm staying completely neutral on all of this and just watching and observing, because again, I think with Farage, when somebody from the elites, very rich, and has been knocking about this way and that, is the one we're all pointing to. It's not grassroots, is it? It's not like somebody who was a coal miner or a dairyman or a postman who's come up the way and knows real people, knows what real people want, knows and understands what the nation really needs and all of that. No, it's not that. It's always somebody who's from the elite, from the parasite class that have made money on the stock market. They're all wealthy. That all their friends, the clubs that they belong to, the associations that are not connected to you and I. And it doesn't matter. They may say all the right things, which of course they're going to say all the right things, or nobody would vote for them. But they are not from the class of you and me, are they? No. And so then you wonder, what will it be like when they're in there with their big cigars and their pints of whatever it is and their injections of who knows what in the evening as they have recreational time? Who knows? And then they look down at the likes of us, snivelling little individuals running around like beetles, desperately trying to live. Yes, you can see the big boot, the jack boot, will come back down again. And these are not the people I personally believe you want running the place. It's grassroots up. People who've lived, people who've suffered, people who know what the score is, people who know what Mrs. Jones is up to in the afternoon. Not that Mrs. Jones, the other Mrs. Jones, the older one, who's poor, got a bad toe. That one. Leave the other Mrs. Jones to get up to whatever she wants. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. But you know what I mean. Anyway, I value your thoughts and your wishes and your dreams and your messages. So do let me know in the comments. Join the thingy. Thanks to the everybody who keeps the channel. I'm waffling now. Until next time, goodbye.